So, in yesterday's video, talking about goaltenders out of the 2014 NHL Entry Draft, from the Demkos to the Kakanins to the Shashirkins and the Sorokins, one of the names that we had discussed was Elvis Merzlikins, and we highlighted how his presence in his contract has put the Columbus Blue Jackets in a spot where one Joonas Korpisalo is all of a sudden popping up in trade rumors everywhere. This video is going over everything we have seen thus far. Quick disclaimer, this is being recorded the night of Wednesday, November 10th, so if there's any big new rumor that comes out tomorrow, then I'm sorry, we're gonna have to miss out on that. But either way, getting back over to the situation, the Columbus Blue Jackets are an NHL hockey team with a few notable names in net. This season, they have had two names suit up, Elvis Merzlikins, as we had noted, who has been absolutely spectacular. A .198 goals against average and a .940 save percentage in 6 games played. He has also been locked down to a contract extended till 2027 at $5.4 million a season. Joonas Korpisalo, on the other hand, while sure, he had made his Columbus debut earlier than Merzlikins, and sure, he is also a little bit older than Merzlikins, he's a guy that still had himself a pretty successful resume of work with this team as well. However, it hasn't been in the same capacity as Merzlikins. Merzlikins and Korpisalo have both had some really good numbers over the past few years. However, there are some very big differences to the way these two guys are able to go out there and play. Korpisalo made his debut with the Blue Jackets in 2015-16, and he was seen as a very good goaltender right off the hop. His best performance was with the Columbus Blue Jackets bubble team in 2019-20, where he pretty much single-handedly helped the team defeat the Toronto Maple Leafs in the play-in round. In 9 games in the postseason, he had a .190 goals against and a .941 save percentage, and he went 3-5-0. This is kind of when we saw the best of Korpisalo. However, ever since then, spending more time in the Blue Jackets NHL system, he hasn't really been the best. An .894 save percentage and a .330 goals against in 2020-2021, and this season where he's at a .905 save percentage and a .343 goals against in 4 games. It's not that he is particularly bad, it's just Merzlikins has been a lot better. Merzlikins also, in the postseason against the Toronto Maple Leafs, was a beast as well. He had a .196 goals against and a .946 save percentage in that same postseason. And you gotta remember, that was Merzlikins' first year in the National Hockey League after coming over from Lugano in the Swiss League. So, Merzlikins bursted onto the scene quickly. He has had a better set of numbers in the shorter amount of time that he has been here, and even though Korpisalo has had that reputation of being this good young goaltender in the NHL, he's 27 years old, so he's certainly not as young as he was when he debuted with the team in 2015-16, but that reputation has started to tarnish ever since the previous few seasons, which is why now you take a look at the contracts. Merzlikins, as we noted, was signed to that longer-term deal, 2027, $5 million a pop. Korpisalo, on the other hand, is expiring this year in 2022. He's making $2.8 million a season, and what? Are you going to be able to re-sign this guy to a contract that keeps him as your de facto backup? Is he going to want that kind of contract? Is he going to want that kind of role? He most likely knows that Elvis Merzlikins has outplayed him and his profile the past few years. So, is it really what he would want to sign long-term with this Blue Jackets squad and just be the backup? This is what we're talking about over here. Blue Jackets Sunday Gathering, a chat with Gary Bettman, and the Joonas Korpisalo trade chatter intensifies. This was posted by Aaron Portzline on October 31st, so it has been a week and a half since the article was posted. I'll leave a link in the description if you have The Athletic and you want to go ahead and read this piece, but because it is The Athletic, we're not going to be screenshotting anything and posting it here. Instead, we're heading over onto Spectre's Hockey's Rumor Mill from November 6. This is what Portzline writes about Korpisalo. He said, there were whispers around the NHL claiming that Columbus GM Jarmo Kekalainen was fielding calls for the 27-year-old netminder. Portzline spoke with 3 NHL front office sources about potential destinations for Korpisalo, and they suggested to him that the Arizona Coyotes, Buffalo Sabres, and Montreal Canadiens are the most likely possibilities. Furthermore, we had ourselves what was David Pagnotta on NHL Network making an appearance. He runs the Fourth Period. It's an NHL insider website. I think everybody kind of knows what the Fourth Period is. But Pagnotta, the guy who runs it, on TV said that the Oilers could potentially make another push for Korpisalo heading over to the trade deadline. So right away, there are 4 teams this early on into the season that have been linked to Joonas Korpisalo of the Blue Jackets. Montreal, Arizona, Edmonton, and Buffalo of all teams. So let's just go over each of these individual team scenarios and how a Korpisalo could fit into the picture, starting off with the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the only reason you would actually acquire a Korpisalo if you're Marc Bergevin and the Habs is if you really do not believe Carey Price is going to be available for you soon. We saw him make a statement the other day. I think everybody is kind of on the same page in that we want to support Carey Price, and the guy can take as long as he needs to get back. But to me, I don't really know if the insecurities as to whether or not Price will come back sooner rather than later are enough to justify going after what would essentially just be a yearly goaltender rental. He's only got this past season left on his contract, and assuming Carey Price returns next year and you still have Jake Allen, he's signed to a longer-term deal as well, do you really want to go out there having Korpisalo as a third-string goaltender that you're going to have to re-sign to a significant amount of money to keep him around because he's going to be a UFA in a year? To me, Montreal makes the least sense, but it only makes sense in a very specific circumstance that in which I do not think is worth contemplating, which is, Carey Price not coming back anytime soon. But either way, Korpisalo over to the Montreal Canadiens is a strange one. Going over to the Buffalo Sabres, we had talked about this in the Devon Levi video, or a few of the Devon Levi videos. Yeah, no, it was the first Devon Levi video. But the Buffalo Sabres are actually getting some pretty significantly good goaltending out of Craig Anderson and Dustin Tokarski for some reason. I'm actually quite surprised how good these guys have been. And if you take a look at the numbers right here, the proof is right there in the pudding. Craig Anderson, at 40 gosh darn years old, is out there with a .921 save percentage and a .250 goals against. Tokarski has a .902 save percentage and a .310 goals against, which isn't fantastic, but he's playing for the Sabres. He's the backup on this team, dude. This is not a bad goaltending duo in the slightest. And if you really want to bridge the gap between what you would have with a Devon Levi coming into your system maybe in the next 3-4 years and today, maybe a Korpisalo makes sense. Maybe it makes sense to say, okay, Craig Anderson, we have no idea when this guy's going to retire. Tokarski, while you're good enough to play in the NHL because he actually vowed himself into a spot over Arundel in the preseason, we just don't think you're ready to be a number 1 starter, so why don't we split the load with a Joonas Korpisalo? Buffalo makes a lot of sense to me. However, the same concerns on free agency still spark up because you would really only be getting Korpisalo as a stopgap before Devon Levi comes in, because assuming everything works out the way you want it to, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is going to be over here. You have Devon Levi as well. Buffalo has themselves a significant goaltender plan that isn't really close to getting accomplished yet, which is probably the only reason why I would even see a guy like Korpisalo heading over there. For Arizona, this is actually a pretty good one too. This is what Spectre's Hockey notes about Arizona. The Coyotes seem like a prime landing spot given their struggles this season, but they could be reluctant to acquire someone who could bolt via free agency this summer. If you take a look at the goaltending in Arizona, my goodness, is it bad. It's really, really bad ever since Darcy Kemper got sent over to Colorado. Now, I'll be fair and say that Karel Vejmelka has been a lot better than people thought he would be. But there's a reason this team has gone through 4 gosh darn goaltenders already, and only one of them has a save percentage above 900. Scott Wedgwood has been bad. Ivan Prosvetov was in for 1 game. He didn't really look too great there. Carter Hutton has been terrible. Have you ever seen a goaltender legitimately have a 7-4 save percentage and a 7-7 something goals against? These are some of the worst numbers I've ever seen. However, the same concerns still bring themselves up. Would you want to go out there and get this kind of guy in Korpisalo if he's just going to bolt the free agency? You're going to need to get that guarantee that you're going to be able to re-sign him. As for the Edmonton Oilers, this is the final team I wanted to highlight over here because it was mentioned by the Fourth Period. They are a team where Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen, while they're good sometimes, I have a tough time believing that they're going to be a solidified, okay, we can 100% rely on this tandem into the playoffs like we really wanted to last year in Mike Smith. It's just not consistent enough to me, which is why we're seeing Edmonton pop up in a lot of these goaltending trade rumors. We actually have another video coming out, I believe, in 2 days discussing a similar name in that respect. So if you're a fan of the Montreal Canadiens, the Edmonton Oilers, the Arizona Coyotes, or the Buffalo Sabres, let me know in the comments, would you want to acquire a guy like Joonas Korpisalo? I think Montreal should not do this. I think Buffalo could do this. Arizona makes a lot of sense to me. Edmonton, it really depends on who floats your boat and who you want to go out there and target. But if you're a fan of any of these teams, let me know in the comments what is the most you would be willing to give up if you acquired a Korpisalo from Columbus. And if you're a Blue Jackets fan, what would you want from any of these teams for your former goaltender of the future before Merzlikins stepped in a few years ago? Talk to me in the comments, all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed. This was Josh Rolls 99. And bye.